Did you just install Cycle? Are you lost and have no clue what guns are good? Well, hopefully this video will help you out. We'll start with the quick shop guns. The trench gun, $1,200, K-Mark, sorry. It is a very solid up-close gun. This gun will put in work against even blue and purple armor. It's a very solid gun to run, especially if you're in a squad. And you can probably take out some juicers with it. Moving on to the PDW. It's PDW 9 damage, 20 mag size. If you put on some white, even white recoil attachments, the PDW will do very well against white and green armor. But if you fight blue and above, it'll start to struggle with no converter. But it is only day 2 of the full release. So the PDW, it is definitely a very strong gun for the first little bit. Moving on to the AR. 13 damage, 22 mag size. Same penetration values of PDW for 1,700. In my opinion, most engagements in this game are within close enough range to use the PDW. The AR is still a very solid choice. But again, same thing with the PDW. It'll struggle against like blue and above. But since it's only day 2, you shouldn't really run anybody using blue. But in my opinion, for 500 K-Marks cheaper, I would definitely run PDW. The Bolt Action for 6,800. The Bolt Action is very strong right now. So most people, like I said, are running green, occasionally blue. If you hit somebody in the body with a bolt with no converter on it, it will do half their health immediately. Half their health in one shot. And most people are running 3-man squads, so there's always at least a bolt or 2 on every squad. But the bolt, is definitely very strong, and I would recommend using it. See, this is typically my loadout, is a bolt and then some sort of secondary, whether that be a flechette or a guarantee or even a mana core sometimes when I'm down bad. Moving on to the white pistol. K-Marks aren't really hard to get, so I would definitely recommend just buying a PDW for, less than double the price. And the pistol is just not really. Only time you should use a pistol is when you have a quest to do that. So that's for the main trader guns. Let's move on to the Korolev guns. Starting off with a Scrapper. The Scrapper is like a more close range PDW. Roughly same damage, a little bit smaller of a magazine size, and definitely has more recoil. Again, I would recommend the PDW over the Scrapper, just because PDW is dirt cheap and I think it's better. The Maelstrom, it's sort of early game-ish. You can find them every now and then. I've found a few in raid, but the Maelstrom is very strong, especially if you're able to craft a mag for it. It is fully auto. I know it says semi-auto, but if you hold mouse for one, it'll just rip. Definitely better than the trench guns. If you find one of these, I would definitely recommend running it, especially with people running white and green armor only right now. And we'll talk about these 3 in another video, because this is just a beginner's guide, what guns to use. Let's move on to the ICA trader. So for ICA early guns, she has the Bulldog. The Bulldog is actually absurd at close range. It is very strong. Only has 2 shots, obviously. But for 6,400, again, you're probably better off just buying like 4 or 5 PDWs and just going with that. I think the ICA is level 6 or 7 ICA, I think, give or take. But this 10 damage, 40 mag for 3,100. But since it's low level ICA, I still believe it's like an early weapon game. Early weapon game, nice. The power of editing. An early game weapon. And even if you throw some white recoil attachments, if you can find a converter for it, this will do very well. Like, I believe I have one that I've been using for quite a bit. Yeah, right here. I got a blue mag, blue converter. And this does very well against players and creatures. The Lacerator. The Lacerator, it's... Out of all the DMRs, the Lacerator is probably the worst in my opinion. It's just severely underdamaged, and it's just not really worth the 41 grand. And then we will talk about these 4 in another video. Just keeping this theme, early game. Moving on to the final trader, Osiris. Let's see, he has the Scarab, which is a burst fire pistol. If you can hit your shots with a burst, the Scarab is decent. But again, I would also just recommend running a PDW with white attachments, or even a Scrapper over this. 13 damage, 15 mag. PDW is better all around, in my opinion. The Manticore is very like well-rounded weapon. It is very strong, has little to zero recoil, even especially with no attachments. But if you throw the white recoil attachments on there, you know, that the traders sell, like this one, reduces recoil, and then you put a stock on it, reduces recoil as well, the Mana Core becomes an absolute laser beam. It's very, very, very strong. Arguably the best early game weapon, this or the PDW. It just really depends on your playstyle. If you're more aggressive, more fast paced like me, I would definitely recommend the PDW. But if you like to, you know, keep your distance and try to pick one off before you engage in close range, Mana Core is definitely very, very, very strong. And the Phasic Lancer, it's definitely like a mid-game weapon, but we'll throw it in here. 13 damage to 21 mag size. It is also a burst. Personally, I've never liked burst weapons in any game, so I'm not really a fan of it. But if you can manage to craft a purple converter for this, it is very strong. Very, very strong, and it'll take out people in 2 to 3 bursts tops. Moving on to the crafting station. I want to showcase a couple items in here real quick. So if you go here, you can craft attachments. For example, the hollow. Some people prefer the hollow. I typically don't. But what I really want to show is the converters. So these converters increase the penetration, which makes the gun just shred. So if you're running, for example, a PDW, you can find these items. You can craft a purple converter, which will make the PDW insane. Same with the magazine. And if you can't find autoloaders, you can actually craft them down here for relatively easy items. If you can put a mag and a purple mag on a PDW, or even a Mana Core, you know, purple converter on a Mana Core with a purple extended, or medium, sorry, it'll do very, very well in players and creatures. One thing I do want to point out is, as you saw, let me run down here real quick, and so you can buy the attachments at any of the 4 traders. The angled foregrip, reduce your recoil while firing. Same with the stock. These only come in white and green. Obviously, green reduces recoil a little bit more, but the recoil mods only come in white and green. In a raid, if you find a blue or purple stock, it'll be ADS speed. It'll be weapons time to equip or ADS speed. So even though you can craft the in-game attachments here, like stock for example, reduce the time to equip and aim down sight. In my opinion, the green recoil ones, even the white recoil ones, are way, way, way better than ADS time. Because in my opinion, it is a lot better to be able to, you know, hit that consistent spray and drop somebody instead of doing ADS speed. The last thing I do want to talk about is the optimal loadout. So obviously, the game came out like roughly 36 hours ago. I streamed 22 hours on the day it dropped, so I'm pretty far ahead for day 2. But for early game, the optimal loadout is obviously at least a duo, if not a trio, because that's what everybody's running. You know, everybody wants to keep their gear, everybody wants to live. This game is very, very hard solo. You have to change your playstyle. But the optimal loadout is definitely rush for the green stems in Osiris. So if you get green stems from Osiris, it comes from this quest line right here. So it is his 3rd quest line. It's not that far down, but definitely rush these green stems. These green stems are an absolute game changer. You get 5 for 3k. They give you roughly double the same health as a white stem, and they're a tad quicker. One stem can be the game changer in a battle. Back to the optimal loadout. Once you unlock these green stems, I would recommend running a bolt, obviously. Right now I have a 6x on it just to make it a little stronger, but you don't need a 6x. You can buy a 2x from the main dude down here. He sells a 2x for, I think, 2,500. Yeah. So if you buy a bolt from him, it's going to come as iron sights. So make sure to buy at least a 2x. But you don't need recoil attachments. A converter on the bolt is arguably, you don't really need one right now because, you know, most people are running green armors. And like I said previously, the bolt with no converter will do 50 damage to green armor. Immediately cuts somebody down to half their HP. And most people don't have green stems, so it'll take them 5 stems to get back to full health. So if you're fighting a squad and you get a bolt shot, it is a very, very good time to push. I would recommend the bolt, and then obviously the majority of the player base won't have a flechette right now. And then, like I said earlier, either a bolt PDW or a bolt Mana Core, just depending on your playstyle. Probably best for 1 or 2 people to have a Mana Core and stay back while the other 1 or 2 pushes with the PDW. Or you could even go, or the Scrapper. The PDW and the Scrapper are kinda hand to hand. 10 damage, 17 mag, 9 damage, 20 mag. And again, make sure you put recoil attachments on these to make them laser beams. But in my recommendation, I have close to 500 hours between the betas and release. I would run Bolt PDW or Bolt Manicore, depending on your playstyle. If you have white stems, I would recommend bringing like 15 to 20. And if you have green stems, I would also bring like 15 of them. I tend to bring more because I tend to stay around in the raid and take more damage, blah, 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 blah. And the last thing you want to run out of is meds. Ammo's dirt cheap, so you can just bring an insane amount of ammo and drop it when you need it. It doesn't really matter. And also, one more thing I want to talk about is optimal gear set. Be sure to look out for the stuff to craft blue and purple. So CPUs, Cloudy, and Rattler skins. Stock up on Rattler skins if you can, especially this first week, because I've been running blue, and this blue armor is an absolute game changer. Especially if you get bolted, it doesn't half you at like under a half, so it does like 40-ish damage. And then even if you can find purple, purple's definitely more on the expensive side, but these items aren't hard to craft. Especially if you're in a duo trio, you can kill marauders decently well with a PDW. So definitely stock up on this, and if you and your squad can craft a set of purple or a set of blue, odds are you will not die. You'll just be able to steamroll for the first few days at least until more people get this. Exotic's way too expensive, especially for right now. Nobody's going to be running anything you'll need exotic for. So definitely for at least the first week, optimal loadout would be blue or above if you can craft it. If not, green's fine. And then bolt, and definitely your secondary choice, whether that's PDW, Scrapper, and Manicore. And then 15, 20 stems, and then a bunch of bullets, because bullets are, like I said, insanely cheap. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, I think that about wraps up the beginner's guide. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop by on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/vibin. I will answer any questions there, or please leave them down below and I will respond to the comments.